นะครับอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะมะยังพันเตวิสระเนสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะทุติยมปิมะยังพันเตติสรณเนโยสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะตติยมปิมะยังพันเตวิสุวัฒนาทายะติสรณเนนะสหปัญจศีลานิยาจามะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิทุติยมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิทุติยมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิทุติยมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิตติยมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิตติยมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิตติยมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิติสรณกัมมังนิพพิตังปานาติปาตาเวรัมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิอาเจนาทานาเวรัมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิกาเมสุมิจฉาจาระเวรัมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิบุษาวาดาเวรัมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิมุสาวาทาเวรัมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิสุราเมรยามัจจป
มทัฏฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
สุราเมรยมัจจปมาทฐานาเวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาธิยามิ
เยมานิปัญจสิกขาปดานิสีเลนะสุขติญญันติสีเลนะโภคสัมปทาสีเลนะนิพพิญญันติสัมมาสีลังเวโสดายะWell, I better welcome you. I must admit I prefer to be sitting closer to the exit just in case you don't. Welcome to the rainy season. I'm not quite sure what we do next, but I imagine it's going to be the Pindapat. And I don't know where the organisers are going to. Upstairs, I think that, yeah. Okay, so if you can organise yourselves here somewhere.
ประเดี๋ยวเราก็ไปเอาอาหารเอาเฉพาะข้าวนะฮะแล้วเรามายืนตักบาตรในนี้กันนะครับเพราะธรรมดานี่ผมแข่งไปแล้วเมื่อวานนะแต่ตอนนี้คือมันไม่ได้เลย และลมด้วยแล้วก็ฝนด้วยฉะนั้นเดี๋ยวเราไปเอาข้าวใส่จาน so we get the plate and for the rice and we're going to be a queue here okay and for the food we're going to be upstairs directly okay so don't follow me to go over there because otherwise it's going to นะครับงั้นโอเค if everyone ready then we can go to get the plate and the rice from the other house okay and to be a queue here
เอาเงียบๆหน่อยครับ อ
สองฝั่งจัดฝั่งนู้นฝั่งนู้น
Yeah, you can come at the back here. Oh, wow, yes, that's right.
อนุโมทนาด้วยเป็นสำเร็จ What we thought we could not walk because it's raining and quite wet, but at least you know. Thank you. So we done a good job today. for 3 times walk it. After that we're going to do the offering, okay, and offer the candle as well. Then after that we're going to for the meditation. เดี๋ยวกล่าวคำถวายสังฆทานพร้อมกันและถวายเทียนพรรษาพร้อมกันเลยนะครับนะแล้วก็มีขอขมาหลวงพ่อด้วยวันนี้วันเข้าพรรษาแล้วนะครับซึ่งตามลำดับเนี่ยพอดีผมก็พิมพ์มาไม่เยอะนะครับงานมันยุ่งๆก็ต้องว่าตามกันนะครับเดี๋ยวถวายของก่อนแล้วก็จะถวายสังฆทานโอเคก่อนเลยฮะเดี๋ยวน้องผู้ชายก็รับออกไปนะฮะมาขึ้นได้เลยเข้ามาเลยเข้ามาใกล้ๆเนี่ยฮะเดี๋ยวคุณไปทางนู้นรับของให้ส่งต่อจะไปวัดมุมนู้นก็ได้เอามาทางนี้ก็ได้เนี่ยพี่มาช่วยแล้วหลายท่านก็ยังไม่เคยมาที่วัดนี้นะครับนะวัดป่าไม่ใช่เฉพาะวัดนี้หาสาขาวัดป่าหนองปะพงเนี่ยนะถ้าเป็นอาหารสดเนี่ยเราไม่รับถวายนะให้เก็บไว้โรงครัวเพราะจริงๆแล้วเนี่ยจะเป็นวัดไหนก็ตามกันการถวายสังฆทานเนี่ยจะถวายเฉพาะของแห้งนะซึ่งสามารถเก็บได้7 วันถ้าเป็นของสดเนี่ยคือต้องฉันเลยนะต้องฉันเลยฉะนั้นจะเก็บไว้ไม่ได้ฉะนั้นถ้าไปวัดป่าสาขาหนองป่าพงไม่ว่าจะเป็นที่นี่หรืออมรวดีหรือชิดเถิดหรือนะก็โปรดช่วยกันด้วยเราชาวพุทธนะแต่จริงๆวัดอย่างไหนก็เหมือนกันนะครับถ้าเป็นอาหารเนี่ยเป็นเครื่องกระป๋องอะไรก็ตามแต่จะเป็นโอวัลตินน้ำพึ่งเนี่ยต้องแยกไว้ในครัวผมเคยมาอยู่ที่วัดนี้เป็นอาทิตย์เนี่ยน้ำพึ่งเนี่ยหลวงพ่อใช้หมดขวดเลยนะไม่ทิ้งเพราะเราตักให้วันละช้อนนะครับแล้วพวกคุณก็จะได้บุญทุกวันด้วยนะครับเพราะจะเป็นวัดอื่นเนี่ยจะอยากพูดเลยเดี๋ยวจะว่าไม่ดีคือใช้กันมั่วนะฮะแต่แล้วก็ไม่ได้เต็มขวดนะครับบางทีไปที่เต็มตู้มีน้ำผึ้งอยู่ตั้งหลายขวดนะครับแต่ว่าที่นี่ช่วงที่ผมอยู่เนี่ยผมจะใช้วันละขวดจนกว่าจะแน่จะหมดแล้วถึงจะเอาขวดใหม่มาเปิดนะครับฉะนั้นของที่วัดนี้ที่มาเนี่ยเป็นพวกอาหารเนี่ยที่ญาติโยมถวายมาเนี่ยจะได้ใช้หมดทุกขวดจนหมดขวดไม่ได้ใช้อย่างสเปะสปะนะครับพี่ๆที่เขามาช่วยที่วัดเขาก็ช่วยกันดูแลนะครับคือเปิดขวดไหนก็ใช้จนหมดนะครับไม่ได้ใช้ขวดนี้ขวดนั้นขวดนั้นไม่ใช่นะฮะของทุกอย่างไม่ว่าจะเป็นซอสหรืออะไรก็ตามแต่เราจะใช้จนหมดขวดนะครับก็ชาวพุทธควรช่วยกันรักษานิดนึงนะครับทราบไหมครับว่าวันนี้เรามาทำบุญด้วยกันเนี่ยฮะเป็นวันอาสาฬหบูชาและเข้าพรรษาเมื่อกี้ที่มากับผมที่ลอนดอนผมอธิบายไปแล้วนะครับแต่นี่มีหลายคนทราบไหมวันนี้วันอาสาฬหบูชามีความสำคัญอย่างไรมีใครทราบไหมเอ่ยต้องเป็นคนที่มากับรถนะคนที่มากับรถนี่ทราบแล้วนะฮะมีทราบไหมวันอาสาฬหบูชานี่สำคัญอย่างไรที่เรามาที่วัดเนี่ยเนื่องในวันอาสาฬหบูชาเนี่ยนะครับก็จะขอพูดซ้ำอีกทีหนึ่งนะครับนะฮะเดี๋ยวต้องให้พระอาจารย์คือวันอาสาฬหบูชานี้เป็นวันที่ว่าพระพุทธศาสนาครบองค์3นะครับครบองค์3หมายถึงว่าหลังจากพระพุทธเจ้าตรัสรู้แล้วเนี่ยเราก็มีพระพุทธนะครับ1และพระธรรมก็ตามมาคือสิ่งที่พระเจ้าตรัสรู้นะครับแต่สิ่งที่ขาดคือพระสงฆ์ยังไม่มีนะครับจนตั้งวันอาสาฬหบูชาเนี่ยที่พระพุทธเจ้ามาที่ป่าอิสิปิตนะหรือคือทายวันมาโปรด5 เบญจวัคคีย์และวันอาสาฬหบูชาเนี่ยเป็นวันที่พระอัญญาโกณทัญญะบรรลุธรรมเป็นพระสงฆ์ขอบวชโดยพระพุทธเจ้าฉะนั้นวันนี้เป็นวันแรกที่ว่าวงล้อธรรมจักรเริ่มหมุนนะครับเพราะว่าเราครบองค์3คือพระพุทธพระธรรมพระสงฆ์
และอีกภายใน1 สัปดาห์อีก4 รูปก็ขอเข้าบวชเป็นพระสาวกเป็นพระสงฆ์เหมือนกันโดยพระพุทธเจ้าฉะนั้นเราเลยจึงมีการเรียกว่าครบองค์3โดยสมบูรณ์นะฮะประเดี๋ยวจะหลวงพ่ออธิบายต่อเป็นภาษาอังกฤษนะครับ
Many people don't understand the Buddhist calendar. Some people think that it's a bit sort of arbitrary, but actually it is sequential. So we have the enlightenment of the Buddha, which occurred on the full moon of the lunar month of Vassa. And in the Buddhist calendar, the full moon completes each lunar month. In the Thai calendar, the full moon is in the middle, but in the Buddhist calendar, the full moon ends each lunar month. So the month of Vassa ended on the full moon of Vassa, and that was when the Buddha attained enlightenment. And then for 7 weeks he stayed close to the Bodhi tree, and it said that every week, after 7 days, he would move to another place where he sat and contemplated the teaching, the understanding that he'd acquired during his enlightenment. In the 7th week, by the 7th week, a certain Brahma Sahampati was becoming very alarmed because the Buddha had no inclination to teach or to make known what he'd understood. And the reason was the Buddha reflected that the world is caught up in craving and attachment, delights and attachment, is intoxicated with attachment. And so he felt it was unlikely that anyone would ever understand what he'd understood. And therefore it would simply be a trouble for him to try and teach when no one would really take any notice or understand him. So he decided that he preferred not to say anything. Brahma Sahampati was concerned because he could see that the world would be lost if the Buddha didn't speak. Here was an opportunity for people to have a way out of their suffering, and if the Buddha didn't teach, then that opportunity would be lost. So he was very concerned about this. And he appeared before the Buddha and he begged him to have a change of heart. And he said to the Buddha that there would be those with but little dust on their eyes who would understand. And that was when the Buddha reflected on the lotus pond. And you know, in a lotus pond, all the lotuses, these beautiful flowers, begin their lives in the bottom of the pond, in the mud and the darkness. And they reach for the light. And some of the lotuses were just below the surface, and some were already on the surface, and some were blossoming. And the Buddha reflected that people, all of us here, are rather like those lotuses at different stages of development, and we're all reaching for and seeking the light. And so when he thought about that, then the Buddha decided that yes, he would try and make known his teaching. He would speak. Then, of course, he had to think about who to talk to first. And he remembered the great teachers that he'd been to, Uddaka and Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta. And he felt that if they were to hear the Dhamma, then they would certainly benefit. But he realized that they'd already passed away. So then he remembered the 5 ascetics, the Panchavagi, who he'd been living with when he was practicing severe asceticism, when he was practicing fasting and breath control and those kinds of extreme exercises. And he reflected that they had been very good to him. They'd looked after him. Of course, when he abandoned the ascetic practices, then they'd left him. They were disillusioned and upset, and they went off. They thought that he'd reverted to a life of luxury and a life of ease. So the Buddha thought that it would be good if he went to them. And he realized that they, by this time, were quite a long way off in a deer park, not far from Benares. And if you look at the map, it's about 120 miles as the crow flies between Bodh Gaya, where he'd attained enlightenment, and where this deer park near Benares was. So then he began to walk by stages from Uruvela, where he'd attained enlightenment, to the deer park near Benares. When he arrived, those 5 ascetics saw him coming in the distance, and they were not at all pleased to see him. They were quite upset with him, and they had no wish to have anything more to do with him. And they talked amongst themselves and agreed that, well, they could at least be polite, but that was all that was necessary. As he came closer, however, clearly something very remarkable and very profound had changed in him, and they couldn't help themselves. And they got up to receive him, and one took his robes and bowl, another made a seat for him, another put out water for washing his feet. And they did, in effect, all the duties of pupil to teacher. And then they listened to what he had to say to them. And I often think about this because, you know, nowadays we're accustomed to Buddhist buildings, beautiful and ornate temples. But at that time, there was nothing like that at all. They didn't even have anywhere to live. So had you passed by, you would have probably seen 6 weather-beaten, pretty rough-looking men sitting out there in the open. 5 of them making a sort of semicircle, and 1 of them speaking. And you wouldn't have thought that anything amazing was happening, probably. But there it was. That's how Buddhism began. The teachings of the Buddha began with the Buddha sitting there and telling them what he'd understood. And that discourse we now call the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And it means Dhammacakka is the wheel of Dhamma, the wheel of truth. Dhammacakkappavattana means setting in motion, setting rolling this wheel of truth. So it was a very profound and important time. And when he spoke, the Buddha reminded them first of all that he'd been a prince. He'd been a very wealthy and privileged person. He'd known the extremes of sensual pleasure. But then he'd also been an ascetic, and he'd taken his ascetic practices to the limit. And so he'd known the extreme of self-mortification. And neither of these extremes had brought him the peace and the happiness that he desired. It was only when he discovered a middle way, the Majjhima Patipattana, that he was able to break through and attain to enlightenment. So the first principle he taught was that of the middle way. And for all of us, as we practice Buddhism, the principle of the middle way is very important. It's a balancing act. And when you practice meditation, when you try and develop your mind, you'll realize this. I remember Yongpo Cha saying to us one day that sometimes he had to tell his students to go left a bit, and then sometimes he had to say, go right a bit. And that's how it is when we're practicing. We have to know how to balance our effort. We have to know when we're not trying hard enough, and we also have to know when we're trying too hard. We have to keep a balance. And this principle of the middle way is therefore very important. And then he went on, the Buddha went on to explain what are called 4 Noble Truths. And he began by saying that he'd realized, he'd seen that this life is dukkha. This word dukkha is difficult to translate adequately into English. and it has a range of meaning from unsatisfactory, everything being unsatisfactory, incomplete. But ultimately, as we experience it, it's an experience of suffering. Now, the word suffering is quite a strong word, but think about it. Even just sort of bashing your toe can be suffering, even if it's only a little bit of pain for a short while. Still, it's suffering. And our lives, therefore, are caught up with this suffering. And then the Buddha went on to say there is a reason for it. And the reason, the cause of your suffering, is with you. It's in your mind. It's in the minds of each one of us. And you know, it's very easy, and we live in a kind of blame culture, it's very easy to try and put the blame somewhere else, with the government, or the Prime Minister, or someone, but not ourselves. But actually here the Buddha is pointing us right back here on ourselves, into our own hearts and minds. This is where the problem lies. And he identified that problem as tanha. And tanha means craving, wanting. Now what does that mean? Craving, wanting things, it means discontent. People are never content. And this discontent, what is discontent? It's suffering, it's painful, it's unpleasant. We want to be free of it. But that's our life. Then the Buddha went on with the third noble truth to say, there is hope. This tanha can be stopped and our craving ended. Our suffering ended. And finally, he gave us the way to do it. And this is very important because it's all very well and we've all been told to be good and be able to do this and do that. But I used to think about this a long time ago. You know, they used to tell me that I should be good, but they didn't tell me how. They say, love your neighbour, but they didn't tell me how to. But here the Buddha is saying, here is a way, here is a path, here is a means by which you can change yourself and free yourself from your craving and your suffering. And that path, as most of you here know, is the Noble Eightfold Path, which again the Buddha referred to as the middle way. So this Noble Eightfold Path is the path of training. This teaching in that first sermon, this is Buddhism. If you want to know what Buddhism is, this is it. The Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. And whatever kind of Buddhism, whatever tradition you belong to, actually the core of it all is found in this sermon. The Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path. And if you're a Buddhist, then you should be doing your best to live by the training of the Noble Eightfold Path. Now that Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha described in different ways. So to begin with, on this occasion, he described it beginning with right view. Right view. Now this term right view characterizes Buddhism. The Buddha would describe us as having essentially minds which are caught up with wrong view. We do not see things as they really are. And our practice is to turn that around to understand things in their true nature. In other words, to arrive at absolute right view. So he began with right view, then right thought or mental attitude, and then comes right speech, right action, right livelihood, and then we have right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And these 8 parts split into 3 segments. And later the Buddha would describe his training in terms of these 3 segments. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Sila, meaning morality or virtue, doing your best to behave well, to do no harm, to perfect right speech, right action, right livelihood. And then Samadhi, training the mind. Right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. And finally, panya, wisdom, right view, right mental attitude. So there are these two ways in which the Buddha taught this path, but it's a path of training, and I encourage all of you to do your best to train in this Noble Eightfold Path. As Buddhists, you know, we acknowledge we have a problem. We understand our suffering, that we have suffering. So we need some means of dealing with it. We are not quite well. Therefore, we need to go to a physician. We go to the Buddha as the peerless physician. And the medicine that he's given us is this Noble Eightfold Path. And we try then to live our lives in accordance with this Noble Eightfold Path. So this is what the Buddha taught in that first sermon. I've expanded it a little bit, but essentially this is the teaching of that first sermon. At the end of that first sermon, one of those five, Kondanya, had a major awakening. Kondanya became a Sotapan. Sotapan means a stream entrant, a person who's entered the stream which leads definitely to Nibbana. There's no turning back. Once you've become Sotapan, you don't turn back. You don't lose what you've gained. You are on the way, and eventually you are certain to become an enlightened being. So with that awakening, with that that development, then Kondanya asked the Buddha for the going forth. In fact, it's put very formally in the text. He asked for the going forth and full admission. There are two stages to becoming a bhikkhu. You have to go forth. Going forth, you become a samanera. On Friday, a young man who some of you knew as Ross asked for the going forth. He went forth and became a samanera. Later, I hope, in about a year's time, because it's our practice in Wat Papong to keep samanes a year before going further. So in about a year's time, I hope he will ask for the full admission. That is to become, to take Upasampada and become a bhikkhu. Kondanya asked for the going forth and full admission. And this was the very first. And so the Buddha answered him with the words, Ehi bhikkhu, come O bhikkhu, lead this holy life for the complete ending of suffering. And that was that Venerable One's ordination. He became a bhikkhu. In the next few days, the others also had a similar experience. The Buddha continued teaching, and the others also had a similar experience. They became Sotapan, and as they did so, then they asked for the going forth and full admission, and the Buddha granted it in the same way. So, Asalha Puja is the anniversary of the Buddha's first sermon, and also the anniversary of the Sangha. And so it's a very, very important occasion. So we have then Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And these, of course, are the three jewels, the three refuges. This is what all of you have some great devotion to, and rightly so. These are real jewels. They're of great importance and value to us all. The Buddha, because of what he did and what his great example, the Dhamma, what he then offers us, the Sangha, this institution of Sangha. There are really two kinds of Sangha, Arya Sangha and conventional Sangha. But actually still we have this institution of Sangha. And the Sangha has for centuries now preserved the Buddha's teachings. And that's a great thing, to have managed that for 2,600 years. It's a colossal achievement. And still to this day, it's alive all over the world now, and available to people to join, to be part of, and to benefit from. So, that's a brief explanation of Asalha Puja. It's a great occasion, and I'm so pleased you were all able to come here today to celebrate this important event. And I hope as you go from here and you remember something of what I've said, I hope, then you will be inspired to keep practicing and to keep Buddhism really alive. This world needs Buddhism very, very badly. As the Buddha said back then, the world is caught up with craving and attachment. It hasn't changed. It's still that way. You look out there, all these arguments about the European Union and Brexit, and what's it all about? Desire. Who's going to be better off? That's all they're talking about. And wherever you go, this is what you come up against. Craving and attachment. Wanting more. People more and more discontent. And what does it bring? It brings suffering. It brings no peace. It brings war. It brings strife. It's a terrible thing. The Buddha's teachings are absolutely crucial. And the way that you keep these teachings alive, you know how you do it? By practicing them. Don't just think that you can sort of put this medicine on the shelf and worship it. You have to take it.
ถ้าขอย้ำนะครับอย่าเป็นแค่คนพุทธแค่ในนามสกุลกับสัญชาติเกิดนะครับเป็นพุทธที่รักษาพุทธด้วยนะครับเพราะทุกวันนี้พุทธเนี่ยเละเทะไปหมดแล้วนะครับที่เราเห็นอยู่เละเทะไปหมดแล้วนะครับและโดยส่วนมากก็เกิดขึ้นจากอุบาสกอุบาสิกานี้แหละประเคนกันเข้าไป ประเคนจนพระนิสัยเสีย นะครับเดี๋ยวเราไหวสังฆทานแล้วก็ถวายเทียนพรรษาแล้วก็กราบคำขอขมาโทษพระเถระพร้อมกันนะครับก็ต้องว่าตามผมนะครับเพราะมีอยู่แผ่นเดียวโอเคกราบพระครับพร้อมกันเลยนะครับนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิมานิมะยังพันเตจตุปัจจยาทินิสัปปะริวารานิภิกขุสังคัสสะโอโนชยามะสาธุโนพันเตภิกขุสังโฆอิมานิจตุปัจจยาทินิสัปปะริวารานิปฏิคันหาตุอัมหากังทีฆรตังอิตายะสุขายะนิพพานะข้าแต่พระภิกษุสงฆ์ผู้เจริญข้าพระเจ้าทั้งหลายขอน้อมถวายเครื่องทายธรรมมีปัจจัยสี่เป็นต้นพร้อมด้วยบริวารทั้งหลายเหล่านี้แด่พระภิกษุสงฆ์ขอพระภิกษุสงฆ์จงรับเครื่องทายธรรมมีปัจจัยสี่เป็นต้นพร้อมด้วยบริวารทั้งหลายเหล่านี้ของข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายเพื่อประโยชน์เพื่อความสุขเพื่อมรรคผลนิพพานแก่ข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายตลอดกาลนานเทอญถวายเทียนพรรษาต่อเลยนะครับ Going to offer the candle ยักเขปสังโฆปฏิชานาตุมะยังพันเตเอตังปฏิปะยุคังสัปปะริวารังเตมาสังพุทธัสสะปูชนัตถายะอิมัสสมิงอุโปสัทธาคะเลนิยาเทมะสาธุโนพันเตอายังเตมาสังพุทธัสสะ ปูชนัตถยะปฏิปยุคัสสะทานัสสะอนิสังโสอัมหากันเจวะมาตาปิตุอธินันจะปิยชานานังทีฆรตังอิตายะสุขายะสังวัตตตุข้าแต่พระสงฆ์ผู้เจริญขอพระสงฆ์โปรดรับทราบข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายขอมอบถวายเพียงผู้นี้พร้อมกับของบริวารไว้ณอุโบสถนี้เพื่อเป็นพุทธบูชาตลอดพรรษาขออานิสงส์แห่งการถวายคู่เทียนเพื่อเป็นพุทธบูชาตลอดพรรษานี้ของข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายจงเป็นไปเพื่อประโยชน์เพื่อความสุขแก่ข้าพเจ้าทั้งหลายแก่ปิยชนทั้งหลายมีมารดาบิดาเป็นต้นตลอดกาลนานเถิดก็เป็นคนจูเซพระเถระขอพระนามพระเถระเดี๋ยวเราขึ้นน้ำอีกรอบนึงนะครับขึ้นน้ำพร้อมกันอีกรอบนึงโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะว่าตามนะครับเถเรปมาเทนะทาวัตรัตเยนะกตังสัพพังอปารทังขามตุโนพันเตเถเรปมาเทนะทวารัตเยนะกตังสัพพังอปารทังขามตุโนพันเตเถเรปมาเทนะทวารัตเยนะกตังสัพพังอปารทังขามตุโนพันเต
กามามิตุมิเมกมิตบัง
ขามมาพันเต
อิจิตังปฏิตังจุมังคิปะเมวะสามิจตุสัพเพปะเรนตุสังกัปปะจันโดปนรสโสยตามณีโจติรโสยตาสัมปิติโยวิวัจจันตุสัพพโรโกวินาศตุมาเตภวัตวันดารายโยสุขิติกายุโกภวะอภิวาทนาสิริสานิจังวดาปัจจายโนจาตารโอธัมมาวดันติอายุวันโนสุขังบาลัง
ก็แบบนี้เพลงabout Asalha Puja เลยพ่อ because mostly we don't know what we are coming to do even though the code we have been what is Asalha Puja we should see by the forget already what it is
Does everyone here remember what Kun Peter and I have been explaining about Asalha Puja? จำได้ไหมเข้าใจไหม อย่าเลินนะ So, you've been, I think you've obviously been very generous to us today, and you've gone to a great deal of trouble, most of you, to be here. And you've also run something of a risk in being here. When we do things, good things especially, and go to some trouble to do those good things, the merit is much greater. When things are easy, well, it's easy. There's no cost. But when they're difficult and there's a cost, then it has much greater impact on our minds. And this is what merit really is about, the impact it has on your mind. It's sometimes said that merit, to tambun, is what cleans your mind, cleans your heart. So, tambun ben hai jitta ben kwan sa'at. So you must do your best to be constantly trying to make your minds cleaner. The Buddha pointed out that essentially our minds are luminous, but they become spoilt. They become defiled by things that come from outside. They become spoilt by our greed and our aversion and our bad habits. And so we have to be very careful, because as our minds become spoilt, so our lives become spoilt. And to practice Buddhism or to practice merit, to come here, is a chance to clean your mind. So if you can just bear with me and listen for a few minutes. I won't keep you too long. I promise. I won't make you go through what I've been through in Thailand. I have sat through hundreds, if not thousands of hours of Dhamma desana and conversations of which I've understood not a word. When I first went to Thailand in 1970, well, I went to Thailand in 1971, Asalha Puja 1972, unforgettable experience of Wat Tham Sangpet, a lot of monks, Luang Por Cha in the middle. It reminded me of what I'd imagined it would have been with the Buddha and all his monks. And we had to sit up 3 nights in a row. The big sala on the top of the hill at Tham Sangpet was being offered by Kun Ying Dun. Kun Ying Dun was a very prominent lady in Ubon and a great supporter of Luang Por Cha. 3 nights in a row, sitting up all night. I'd never sat up one night before. 3 nights in a row, listening to Dhamma desana. I didn't understand a word. I spoke no Thai at the time. Not only that, most of it wasn't even in Thai. It was in Isan. Vassa Isan. So all I heard was it sounded terrific. But I didn't have a clue what was going on or being said. And I've never forgotten it. And then, from then on, in all those years I spent in Thailand, it was much the same. Every so often there were big events, long Dhamma desana, and Thai monks in Isan can go on for a long time, I can tell you. I once, there was an occasion, I can't remember the year now, when some of the monks from Wat Pa Pong, some of the elder monks, came to the forest hermitage. And we took them out for the afternoon. They came and ate here And then we took them to Warwick Castle. There was an exhibition on in Warwick Castle. And I did my best to explain what all this was about. And then we walked through the chapel and showed them the chapel. And there was a clergyman standing in the pulpit talking. And as we came out of the chapel, this woman came up and put a notice in front of me which explained that this clergyman was trying to break the world record for the longest sermon. And so he had to keep going for, I don't know, about 30 hours or something. So I explained that to the Wat Pah Pong monks. They didn't think much of that at all. Totally unimpressed. So you can imagine the number of hours I've sat through Dhamma Desana, and not to speak of conversations and so on in Isan or Thai, and I've understood. Well, I know I can understand, so be careful. I understand a bit more than I let on sometimes. but back then I couldn't. So I know what it's like if you can't understand me very well, but just bear with me. I won't go on too long. I won't go on for too many hours. But I do want to, just because it's tradition, you see, you come here and you offer material things which enable us to keep going. You enable the temple to be here. You enable us to do our practice. You enable us to do what we do. We have no other means. And we're very grateful for all the attention you give us and the help and support you give us. And we're very grateful for all of it, whether it's a little or a lot. We're very grateful and we value it. And what can we do for you? We can't do very much, except we can offer you some nourishment for your hearts and minds. We can do our best to encourage you to live your lives in a better way. Because everyone, their minds are spoilt by kilate. Chai Mi kilate you mai? Yeah. And what does that bring? Huh? It doesn't bring goodness, does it? So I want to encourage you to do your best to overcome this kilate and to lead your lives in a better way, and then to be happier and more complete and fulfilled persons. It's very important. We have to live this life. We come into it, we don't know why. At some point in our life we question what we're doing here. What's the point of it all? I mean, we don't live very long. Oh, it's over all too quickly, I can tell you. It's I'm getting to the I'm into the last of a 3-act drama. I think I'm near the. I'm hoping there's going to be a long epilogue. But there's no guarantee, and it's happened all very quickly. Time passes quickly, and what's the point? Well, we have to try and find a reason. We have to try and give our lives some purpose and some point. And the best thing to do is to do your best to make your lives a better life, to make your minds better. And that will lead to many good things, both for you and the people around you. So in the first instance, when you arrived earlier on, you took the 5 precepts. Keep them. Keep them with you. Don't think that that's just a ritual that you do when you come here and then you forget all about it. Please keep them with you. Remember them. Try and live by them. And especially the 5th precept. I know I go on about this all the time, but because I go in the prisons and I see the damage that not keeping the 5th precept has done, I feel very strongly about it. And the world generally is messed up these days with a great deal of alcohol and a great deal of drugs. And it just brings more and more trouble, more and more social problems. And I would like to see Buddhist people being a real beacon, showing the way of living a life without this rubbish, and doing our best to turn the tide against this stuff which spoils the lives of so many people. So please remember the 5 precepts. They will do much good for you. Keep them with you. Take them wherever you go. Don't forget them. Try your best to live by them. So, that's sila. And then the next thing, to cleanse your mind. Well, you've done a good job already by bringing things here, by making merit. All this helps to cleanse the mind. But more than that, better than that, practice meditation. Sila, samadhi. Samadhi means to make this effort to change your mind. And to change your mind, you need to practice meditation. And it's not that difficult. I mean, even if you feel when you sit and meditate you're not very good at it, and your mind's all over the place, at least you're learning that your mind is all over the place. You're seeing something you hadn't seen before. And when you keep on seeing your mind like that, and it won't do what you want it to do, and so on and so forth, you're actually acquiring some understanding of your mind. You're acquiring some understanding of the nature of things, because you're watching your mind changing. So you have some direct experience of change. And the Buddha spoke a lot about this, that all things, all our conditioned things are anicca. But we don't see it. Normally we don't see it. We behave as though things are real and permanent. And we go on through our lives as though we're going to live forever. But we're not. Things are changing. And then when sometimes people look in the mirror and there's been quite a big change, yes, you're not as good looking as you were 20 years ago, then you start getting worried and wanting to do this, that and the other about it. Live with it. We're all aging. We can't help it. We can't stop it. Live with it. Understand it. Learn from it. This is change. All things, our minds and everything around us, everything is changing. Some of it very slowly, some of it quite fast. We live in the forest. We like to be forest monks. Not just because it's a peaceful place, not because we want to get away from people, but why? Because living close to nature, we see change. Nature is constantly changing. And it's not just the weather. Everything around you is changing and adapting and developing and evolving. And we learn from that. We watch that. We're part of that. And we learn about it. And we begin, after a while, to have some insight into the nature of change. It's very important. So when you practice meditation, yes, you may say, well, I'm a rubbish meditator. I can't stop my mind for an instant. Well, even though that you're not able to concentrate as you'd like to, still you're learning something. So when you practice meditation, almost certainly, always you benefit. And of course you do take that time away from a busy schedule to just be still, to just be alone, to just have some respite from all the various things that you have to do. And that is very important as well. So please do it. It's a marvellous gift. It isn't that difficult. It takes a little bit of time. Take that time each day. Give yourselves something. Some of you give a lot to everyone else. Give yourselves something as well. Care for yourself as well. It's very important. So there you are. That's all you have to do. Look after yourselves. Try to do the best with your life. And let me encourage you to do this. And do your best to be better persons. And in time, you will become wiser persons. And as you become wiser persons, you become happier and more contented. Contentment. Contentment is the highest gain. Got it?
ก็เดี๋ยวจะประพรมน้ำมนต์กันแล้วก็ใครจะเข้าสนทนาหลวงพ่อก็เชิญได้เลยนะครับโอเคก็เดี๋ยวขอยอดวันนี้นะครับไม่ทราบอยู่ที่ใคร
ยอดไม่ไหลไปแล้วคือที่เขาจะติดท่อ
เรียนได้แล้วค่ะเข้าแล้วเราหายแล้วเข้าแล้วอ่ะ1,900เบาแบกก็ให้เพื่อนคุณพี่อาจารย์เท่าไหร่นะ1,900ค่ะ1,900จำไม่ได้1,957 พี1,975
ยอดพระป่าวันนี้ได้มา 1,957 กับ 15 พีนะฮะก็รวมไปแล้วไงใช้อีกเมื่อไหร่
เก่าที่มัน9.7ให้ไปอีก2ก้อนเป็น9.9น่ะ
โอเค 1,999 ปอนด์กับ 15 พีนะวันเช้าสั้น99 pound and 15 pence I don't know why 15 pence
มีเค้ก5 ปอนด์นะเป็นปีเตอร์เค้ก5 ปอนด์นะ
and 5 pound in check yes okay เดี๋ยวหลวงพ่อจะประพรมน้ำมนต์กันนะครับ
ยันโตโพธิยามุเรกาคายานังเดวะตโนเอวังโตวิจโยวิจยาสุชยมังเบเรปาราคิตาลังเกสีเสปะทวิสุกะเรอาเบเสเกสาบะโบจานังนาคาปะตุนะโมตาทิสนาสังสุกลังสุขภาตังสุติตังสุขโนสุโมตุตัสสัมปะเดชาเรสุขดาคินะกายกรรมวาจากรรมังบดาคินังมโรมังปณิทิเตปะราคินะปะราคินานิกะตังปันดาคิปะราคิ
วัด